there was a segment on Morning Joe. I know, right? It's still out there. I didn't know it was either. And they did like a town hall for Pittsburgh voters. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because the woman holding the town hall was kind of asking questions like, she assumed she knew what she was talking about and the people didn't. And then they just started correcting her on everything she was saying. So it was about Donald Trump and the January 6th nonsense. And she just made assumptions. To start off, she's telling Morning Joe and whoever the blonde chick is, she's like, I'm really concerned.
What I'm perhaps most upset and concerned about just for the future of American democracy is all of the doubt about the integrity of the American election system. And so we're going to hear now from Pittsburgh Trump voters on their thoughts on 2020 and the integrity of that election. And then we're going to go and hear where they are, where they stand on Donald Trump these days.
She's concerned because their narratives aren't working. And she was actually educated on the events of January 6th. She must have gotten all of her information from those hearings. That's all I can think of. It's really, really funny. Because she's like, do you think he provoked the January 6th riots? And they were like, no. One of them's like, no, I was there. He said to peacefully protest.
Do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him
I
personally.
don't think
no.
no.
I don't think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump, little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually, I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did. And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices be heard. And we get to the Capitol and we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people to cross barriers.
You were there that day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I mean, why would he tell people to do that? Why did the people who did that not wait around for him to tell them to do that? He said that around the end of his speech, if I remember correctly.
Woo! So then she's like, well, I mean, people died. And they're like, no, just one person died, and she was actually a military veteran Trump supporter. She's like, what about the police officer? And they're like, nope, heart attack or stroke.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol Police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No,
He died
it was
of
a
heart
stroke.
attack.
That's not on site.
Caused by that.
And it's almost like she was learning on the fly. She's supposed to be asking them questions, and they're teaching her on the spot, live on television, on the Morning Joe, which I swear I didn't know was still out. How funny is that? They're educating her on the events because the media, maybe she wasn't part of it and really genuinely thought the stuff she was saying. The media has thrown these lies out so much and so consistently that people believe people died. A police officer was killed. No. And she had nothing. Like, they're just correcting her on everything she said. And it was hilarious that they didn't know what to do. So then they go back to their Morning Joe panel, and he starts talking about the Trump followers being a cult.
This isn't really too complicated about why people are believing what they're believing as far as stolen elections go, because the guy that they looked up to, almost in a personality cult type way, knew he was going to lose to Biden. And so he started saying 6 months before the election that the election was rigged.
They haven't learned. They haven't learned anything. The reason why CNN, CBS, ABC, all of them, the reason why their ratings are so bad is because people know when they're lying. The information is out there. You can literally look at the hearing and tell, okay, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And I'm just excited for, hopefully, these loser Republicans, if they get in, they look into that committee. Because all the people that were arrested, I honestly, I would just do a blanket, correction. I would look at people who didn't do anything violent, and I would pardon probably most of the people and get that off of their record and let them go. Because that's what happened with most of the Black Lives Matter protesters. The Antifa people were pretty much let out the same day, if not the next day. So why are we holding on to January 6th rioters for 2 years? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. The law is the law. You execute it evenly and fairly. I thought that's what we were supposed to be doing here. Instead, they want the people they don't like prosecuted harder. And that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But there's nothing more fascinating than watching a news person be corrected on their own show. And there's really nothing she could say because what they were saying was factual. Then she goes down to the other narrative. Well, would you guys prefer DeSantis over Trump?
Would you vote for DeSantis over Trump?
Yeah, I would. Yes.
Interesting. Who would vote for DeSantis over Trump at this point?
I think I would.
So
DeSantis is Trump with brown hair.
Younger version.
I think DeSantis has a bit more of a filter.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Which is, I think, a
Brown
good
hair,
thing.
no social media.
He comes across as a tough, nice guy.
And he's young too, so I don't know if he's not in the next.
I think his time's coming. I just don't think it's right now.
They're pushing the same things nonstop because they would rather run against DeSantis. I love DeSantis. I think he's awesome. It's just not his time. And one of the people on the panel said that. He needs to wait until Trump is done. But the problem is they're steering everyone toward DeSantis because they think he's more beatable because he doesn't have a cult following. The Trump people, if DeSantis waits, will go straight to him. If DeSantis doesn't wait, there's going to be a divide because he should have let Make America Great Again finish and then continued on from there. So I'm hoping he does that and just waits. He's a young guy. He doesn't have to run right now. But she pushed that narrative onto them. And some of them were like, yeah, I like DeSantis better. He's more measured. That's what they want. He's a muted version. He doesn't tweet. That's what they want. They want somebody that they can compete with fairly. It's not fair. He's using Twitter. And if he gets back on before 2024, which it definitely looks like is going to happen, they're terrified of that because he goes straight to the people. He doesn't have to use truth. He can use truth and sync up with Twitter and do the exact same thing he was doing before. And everyone who hated it can hate it all they want, but it was effective. There's not really much you can do about it. So they're pushing a few different narratives right now. One, they prefer DeSantis, so they're going to sit there and try to pit Trump against DeSantis. Two, January 6th. Right, as if we didn't see the real riots 2 years before. What's another narrative? Oh, a big one. They keep saying inflation is global. Inflation is global. This has nothing to do with me. It's global.
The point is that high inflation is bad. It's really bad. But it's actually not the fault of Joe Biden or Democrats. It's not even a uniquely American problem, and it's not worse in America than it is in other modern economies. And that's where the problem lies. Many Republican politicians and candidates love painting this as a purely American issue. They love blaming the current administration.
This is a global challenge. This is something that everyone is feeling across the globe. But we understand that prices, these gas prices, including food prices in particular, those two things, as we look at inflation and trying to make sure that we're fighting inflation in every way that we can.
They don't have any policies to fix or even sway inflation. So they're just going to throw their hands up and blame the rest of the world. Our policies are good. Like when Ice Cream Man was licking the ice cream saying, our economy's strong as hell. It's everybody else. They suck.
About the strength of the dollar right now.
I'm not concerned about the strength of the dollar. I'm concerned about the rest of the world. Does that make sense? Yes. Our economy is strong as hell. The internal. Inflation is worldwide. It's worse off everywhere else than it is in the United States. So the problem is the lack of economic growth and sound policy in other countries, not so much ours. And that's how it's worldwide inflation. It's consequential.
So that's a narrative you're going to hear. And I heard a lot of people saying it. Yeah, but the inflation's global. We're not worried about that. It's the number one concern of voters. All voters, both sides. Inflation, economy. They're talking about January 6th. That's number 19 on the list of concerns of the actual voters. Their narratives failed. That entire hearing failed. Dick Cheney with a wig failed. The crying guy failed. So now, all they can do is, we at least got to get DeSantis, because if we get Trump again, we're going to lose our democracy. There's the other narrative. The democracy is in danger. Election deniers. It's interesting because while they're arguing that election denial is worthy of prison, because they're literally putting people in prison for thinking that the election was rigged, or at least wasn't the safest secure election of our lifetime. They're locking people up for going down to the Capitol and saying, we don't agree with this we want to look into this outcome because we don't believe it's legit. Well, then you're un-American and you're a threat to democracy. That sounds pretty harsh. But Hillary Clinton, literally the same day that they're doing this narrative, goes on and starts talking about Republicans stealing elections.
I know we're all focused on the 2022 midterm elections, and they are incredibly important. But we also have to look ahead, because you know what? Our opponents certainly are. Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election. Just think, if that happens, the 2024 presidential election could be decided not by the popular vote or even by the anachronistic Electoral College, but by state legislatures, many of them Republican-controlled.
Literally. Stacey Abrams still claims to be the governor of Georgia. Literally. So it's okay for them to do it. It's okay for Nancy Pelosi, it's okay for other Democrat senators and House reps to say, you know what, Trump is illegitimate, he stole the election. Interesting. But when a Republican says it, it's a threat to the democracy all of a sudden. Which one is it? You can't have both. Either it's a threat or it isn't. I, for one, say it's not. It really isn't. That's actually the point. And they were going through a legal process to contend and try to figure out what to do next, because it had never happened before. So there were different legal avenues that they were taking, and they were doing them all. But they got nervous that they were doing that. And I swear, the Republicans are such cowards. I don't think they're going to pursue this to the end. I really don't. I really don't. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. I hope they do. As long as we don't get another John Durham in. Just to waste people's money. Tens of millions of dollars to come away and you can't even prove that somebody lied. How do you bring charges against somebody for lying and you can't prove they lied? I think that's worse than what Mueller did. Because at least Mueller, while they had fake claims against Trump, at least there were some claims. This guy, he has the person who created and fed the lies in the Steele dossier and couldn't charge him on it. Literal Russian collusion. And John Durham, whatever his name was, Bull Durham, hack. Couldn't even get 2 people for lying. That's pathetic. Pretty sure I could make that case in the court of law, in federal court. But this guy couldn't. Anyway, beware of those narratives, because that's all they're pushing now. They don't have anything else. They have nothing else to go with. They're going to just keep pushing it. Not Russia. Oh, actually, no, they're still blaming Putin for everything. So global inflation is the reason why our economy sucks and our inflation is high. It's not. It has nothing to do with policies, apparently. It's the world and all these other governments. They suck. Let's try to get DeSantis in there first, so we know Trump will never run again, because that's their ultimate goal. It's always been their ultimate goal. January 6th was way, way, way worse than anyone saw or thought.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
And their policies are good. Everything's good. The economy's great. We're doing great. Gas is down.
We're just in a difficult time right now with this inflation. That's why he's doing everything that he can.
Does President Biden take any responsibility for his policies potentially contributing to inflation?
His policies has helped the economy get back on its feet. That's what his policies has done. When we talk about the gas prices right now, this is indeed Putin's gas hike. This is what we have seen in the most recent months of what we've seen at the gas pump. And so that is a fact. We have seen about 60% increase in the past several months, and because of the amassing and his invasion of Ukraine. And so the president, his goal right now, and what he is frustrated about, is what the American people have to go through.
Some places in this country now, a gallon of gas costs more than people on the federal minimum wage are making in an hour. What does the White House want these people to do? Just stop driving to work?
Look, the president understands what it feels like. Deese just spoke about this. Brian Deese was just here and talked about how he understands what it means for people who are sitting at their kitchen table and see gas prices go up. He understands that feeling personally, or seeing prices of groceries go up in the grocery store. This is something that he is inherently aware of, and he's doing everything that he can. As Brian Deese was just here, his economic advisor, one of his top economic advisors, laying out what he is planning to do or continue to do to make sure that we lower costs at the gas pump. Brian also said that we are dealing with an unprecedented time with global challenges that we have never seen before. And that includes clearly the pandemic, that includes Putin's tax hike that we're seeing this past couple of months, that has had an effect on gasoline prices. $1.50 went up since Putin has amassed his troops on the border of Ukraine. These are real, global issues that has led to this moment. But the president is doing everything that he can to make sure that we address this issue.
It's going back up, but it's still better than it was our first year. Like, that's the barometer. It's still really high, but it's better than it was a few months ago. Come on, guys, give us some credit. We brought it down. I thought Putin controlled it. Yeah, but we brought it down. So when it goes up, it's on you? No, it's Putin. They're such idiots. I don't know why no one's articulating this to the people, because it doesn't make any sense how the very people calling election deniers threats to the democracy are claiming that the elections were stolen in 2000, in 2020, not 2020. Which one did Hillary run? 2016. So the 2000 election, I think that's the one with George Bush and Al Gore. Hillary said was stolen. Bush stole that one. Trump stole 2016 from her, of course, because she was so great. The only way she could have lost is if it was stolen, because she's just that great. Everyone loves her. Just ask her. And now she's saying 2022 and 2024 are going to be stolen by Trump. How is that not a threat to the democracy? When you're undermining, this is what they claimed, you're undermining the integrity of the elections, and you're creating doubt, and you're spreading misinformation. How does she know he's about to steal the election? She has spies in his camp. She's just making stuff up. And the same media who calls people election deniers and threats to the democracy are allowing her to do it, and they're going to get behind her when she runs. Because that's what this is. She didn't just pop out of nowhere just because. She still truly believes she's the chosen one, and that she should have been president. And her own people are going to turn on her. They're still mad about the whole Bernie thing. What's Bernie's concern? Well, the inflation is global, but the Republicans won't raise the minimum wage. Let's spend more. Biden's now on TV talking about the deficit and how he's cut the deficit. Oh man, these people, any win that they think they can find, they're going to use. And that's what they do. They're going to ignore obvious questions. Biden's going to keep walking in the wrong direction when it's time to leave.
Mr. Haney?
This way, sir. Oh, you going back the other way? I want to go that way. You can go that way if you want. Do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. I notice how much freedom I have.
Where do we go? It's your lawn. You don't know where to go? You still don't know where to go. You came on the stage, you don't know how to go back that way? He got asked a question on international TV, MSNBC. What does your wife think about you wanting to run again? And he just blanked out.
Once I make that judgment, a whole series of regulations kick in, and I treat myself as a candidate from that moment on. I have not made that formal decision, but it's my intention to run again, and we have time to make that decision.
Dr. Biden is for it. Mr. President. Oh.
Dr. Biden thinks that, my wife thinks that we're doing something very important, and that I shouldn't walk away from it.
She thinks we're doing something important. That's not the answer. We asked you what she thinks of you running again. He just spaced out. Dr. Jill, who refers to their own wife as doctor? Come on. Dr. Jill, she's this is what we're up against.